History of Purt and the Great War, the Saga of ShaHaNon. In the Second Age of the world, the inhabitants of the great fertile southern continent of Lowen were instructed by their goddess Raz about the realms and how to open the gates between them. She taught them of demons and how to bind them with deals. Empowered with the strength of the demons, the Razans moved to conquer the world. The demons were cunning and learned how to manipulate the deals for their own agenda. As war broke out, they began to manipulate not only the Razans but all the races. The demonic power caused even the Razans to turn against each other in an intense struggle for power. In the places of massive conflict, the energies of high magics lingered, warping the very fabric of creation. All of the races struggled to survive in a world gone mad. They warred against each other and against the demons who had turned their masters into puppets. To counter the power of the demons, the Purtan adepts gathered in a sacred place on a great hill and offered their own blood to open a new gate. The sacrifice and surrender of the adept souls allowed the angels to enter the world. The legions came, led by Armon, the archangel. The angels spread out over the world to aid all the races against the Razans. With strength and wisdom, Purt led the fight against Raz with Armand at the head. Soon, the other races joined in. The Razans were driven from their conquest of the world back to their own lands. There, the final battle was fought. So great and terrible were the final days that the power released turned the once fertile lands into stone. The heat was so intense, fields of glass stretched out as far as the eye could see. The Razan were hunted into the very depths of the barren desert that now replaced the once teeming jungle. With the races of the world nearly destroyed in the war, the people limped to their homes as they could. A few had no way to escape Lowen or no home to return to, and so remained on the coasts. They took up posts against the Razan and became known as the Deccan. 12 angels chose to stay in the land of Purt to guide and dwell with the people, not just fight the war. Armand and the other 11 great angels taught the Purtans the true way and the secrets of heaven and hell. Doing so, they began the greatest religion the world had ever known. To begin in their aid and rebuilding of Purt after the war, the angels created 12 great wells of power. Here, the warped energy of the world would purge itself and thus become usable. It gave the Purtans the power and security they needed to begin to heal the planet and all on it. To safeguard this amount of raw power from abuse, the wells were keyed to the 3 daughters of Armand, Arel, Landra, and Tira. Only their descendants would be able to inherit the wells. To stop the chance of more demons returning, the angels were left with no choice but to seal the gates that had been opened. Armand and the angels who yet lived gathered together. They carved laws into great stone pillars with their own blood. They gave so much power to the magic that death took them. The laws became part of the magic of the world. Despite what the angels had done, the world was so badly warped that people could barely get crops to grow. Children failed to be born, and the earth itself trembled and shifted constantly. After desperate decades that turned into centuries, the strongest and wisest of the Purtans gathered together and made a plan to aid the world as a whole. The greatest and most warped continent, Bracken, would be sealed away inside a magic barrier. This would trap the harshest energies within and give the rest of the world time to heal. Then, when the time came, the masters of the world as a whole would lower the barrier and use their combined powers to heal the last continent. Under the guidance of the first Empress of Purt, Arel, daughter of Armon, the Great Barrier Shield was raised. The barrier was meant to be taken down and the tainted continent healed, but when the designated time came, the world was not ready. There were still too many warped lands outside the barrier. The entire line of Arel had been lost to war, and the dynasty of Purt had gone to the line of Landra, second daughter of Armand. Her descendants were called von Armand, in honor of her father. Millennia passed, and still the barrier never came down. It remained intact far beyond the intended time frame and into the rule of Tyrell von Armand, the 13th heir in the line of Landra. By the time of Tyrell's reign, the warped lands were healed enough to bring down the barrier, but the political demands of the daily lives of those in power prevented it. The magic of the barrier was taken for granted. Then, the Empire of Purt was staggered by a set of events that rocked the world. The Holy Pontiff of the Church of the Angels died unexpectedly. At the same time, Emperor Tyrell vanished, along with most of his personal army. Tyrell von Armand, a great priest and saint, was heir to the throne of Purt and the throne of the Holy Church. He became the greatest grief of all the world when he was said to have gone insane, murdering his wife and children with such brutality that the place was still cursed 5,000 years later. Tyrell disappeared, and none could say where he went. Grief-stricken, the remaining masters of the world stood in shock as Jerome, the human partner to the missing prince, took over the great Purtan Empire and the pontificate of the Church. They could do little but watch as the once great empire became unrecognizable. In despair, they saw the bloodlines of Armand vanish as the barrier shuddered and shifted. Without the line of Armand to contribute power to assist in removing the barrier, it would not be long before the aging magics of the barrier would destroy the world.
Hello, friends and fans of Princes and Priests. I want to personally thank you for joining us for this enhanced audiobook experience of the chapter History of Purt and the Great War. We are thrilled to bring the Saga of ShaHaNon to life with the power of AI imagery. If you enjoyed this chapter and want to see more like it, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. And if you'd like to play a bigger role in making the entire saga into this enhanced format, consider joining our Patreon. We can't do this without you. Thank you all. And special thanks to our top Patreon, Carol